It's not 5 o'clock, and they don't care. Welcome to Wine to 5. Entertainment, education, and everyday drinking for everyday people. Your hosts are Valerie Caruso and Stephanie Davis, two wine educators who don't need a clock to know when to pour that next glass.
Welcome back, Wine to 5 listeners. Today we are swirling our wine and sharing with you the W25 recommended reading list. It sounds like we should be sitting in front of a fire with a smoking jacket on. Well, we're close.
Well, that's not a bad idea, Val. Oh, it sounds pretty good to me. Thanks, everyone, for being here with us, and let's get right into the show. What's in your glass, Val?
Well, yeah, we're not messing around today because we have a lot of ground to cover. So what's in my glass today? The first thing I've had in my glass that resembles wine in several weeks for the show is from Yakima Valley, which is in Washington State. And if you haven't been there, the tasting rooms are a lot of fun. So it's kind of almost in the middle of the state there. This is the Farm Girl. That's the name of the producer, the 2013 Washington Winery of the Year. And it is the 2012 Summertime White Wine. So I know it's September and we're all excited because the pumpkin spice latte came out today and all that good stuff. But I'm trying to kick summer out the back door as well. So I thought, well, this is the last summer white I'm probably going to open. And it is 81 degrees out. This is 47% Moriel Muscat, 32% Riesling, and 21% Viognier. So it's got a little body, it's got a little lift, it's got a little bit of that orange blossom from the muscat, which is really nice. Remember, there are over, 200 types of muscat, so this is just one of them that grows in that dry area of Washington. The wine is not very sweet. It's got a nice fruity profile on it, very food-friendly. I'd have this with some spicy food or some noodles or something like that. So, nice. Yeah, that's what's in my glass. A nice white wine, summertime, for the beginning of the fall frenzy.
Nice.
What are you drinking, Steph? What do you got up there?
Well, I've got an Italian Pinot Nero. So Pinot Noir, the Italians call it Pinot Nero. It's a 2011, and the producer is Castlefeder, and the name of the wine is Glenner. And because it's up there in the Alto Adige northeastern part of Italy, right by Austria. It also has the Austrian name of Pinot Noir on it, which is the Blauburgunder. So that's just, fun alphabet soup in your mouth there, trying to pronounce that. And let's see here, what did I spend on this? I think it was maybe just less than $25 locally, but I did see it online. K&L has it for $26.99. I really like it. I had it last night. We had some friends over, and their kids came over, and we made some pasta and had some a nice little Labor Day get together. So had some Pinot Noir. Yeah, I like it. Easy drinking, fruity. Has a little bit of smoky finish, a little bit of spice, but it's still just light, and you can put a little chill on it if you want. So it was good. Yeah.
I like that a lot of the wines from that region, and if you've ever been there, the road signs are in both languages. They're in like the German and the Italian, and a lot of them do speak German. They don't speak Italian.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's an interesting place to go, and it's absolutely beautiful. So if you ever get a chance to go up to northern Italy, the wines up there, really neat.
Yeah.
Really neat wines. It's probably, one of my favorite regions. I like all the white wines from northern Italy anyway, so.
I've never been up there to that part of the country, but I know for sure that this producer is easy to find, and I just had a bottle earlier last week, same producer, Pinot Grigio, and also very good, had really nice body, and it wasn't a typical Pinot Grigio. It was a little bit more expensive, that it was probably closer to $20, maybe $18 or $20, but I really liked it. This is a great producer.
And there's such a big world to drink.
Yeah,
I mean, It's really great to try new things. So hopefully everybody out there is trying some new things and they're getting some good tips. But we should get right into the meat of the show here.
Yeah.
So, not even 5 minutes in, and we're diving in. And today we're talking about our favorite wine books. I know a lot of people out there are always looking for great wine books, and some people will ask, hey Val, what's the best wine book? The answer to that is it depends. And that's my answer to a lot of things, because it depends on what you're studying. If you want a wine book to just read on the beach, we got one for you. If you want a wine book to study for, a class, or if there's a certain region you want to learn more about, there are wine books for that too. So, whether you're looking for fun or entertainment, there are plenty to indulge in. But, I wanted to ask Steph before we even dove in if you remember your first wine book.
Yeah, first wine book. I think, because it's a little bit blurry here, I don't remember back that far. I think it was the Windows on the World, the Kevin Zraly wine course. 2007 edition is the one I have. I still have it. I still reference it. Great book.
It is. It's got quizzes in the back, which is why I like it, because I like to take tests, obviously. My collection started in 1999, and it started with Wine for Dummies, which I still have, and it's very marked up, and also a book called Wine Uncorked by Fiona Beckett, which I still have. And I was moving to Northern California. I knew nothing about wine. I had a bottle of Gallo Cafe Zinfandel, which drinks fine. It was in my fridge in North Carolina. I thought, boy, I'm moving to California. I better start learning about wines. I bought those 2 wine books.
Nice.
And that's how I started learning. It's like every time I would drink something from Cost Plus World Market, I'd go home and I'd look it up.
Yeah.
Look it up in the wine book. And I'd start checking off wines that were mentioned that I'd had. And then when I moved to Colorado, wherever the heck I am now, Colorado, I actually started watching Andrea Immer's TV show, Simply Wine. And so when she came out with Great Wines Made Simple, that, I will tell you, is one of the first books I do recommend to people who are trying to learn about wine. She was an acolyte of, or is an acolyte of Kevin Zraly, worked with him at Windows on the World restaurant in the World Trade Center. So yeah, if you read the front of her book, she does mention that. So she kind of goes about it almost in the same way, and she just breaks it down like the big 6. What's the difference between Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnay, and how she gives you little tasting exercises, and she would always give you little recommendations of wine to drink every day, wine to drink for special occasions, and then wine to drink for those lifetime things. So those are 2, I think, essential books for the wine library for anybody who wants to learn a little bit about tasting wine.
Yeah, and I haven't looked to see what's the latest edition of Windows on the World, but yeah, I would still recommend that. And just like you were saying about Andrea Immer Robinson's book, having that list of everyday wines, special occasion wines, I learned a lot from those lists. I think that
likewise.
Yeah.
Likewise, there are a lot of wines that I've only tried because Andrea Robinson Andrea Immer back then, she recommended them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I didn't know what Chateau d'Yquem was till she went there on her show, and then she was touting La Crema once, for a bargain Chardonnay. I mean, I just love her personality. I love learning about wine with her, and I hate that I don't get to see that show anymore. So she's one of the people I would love, love, love to meet. I do follow her on Facebook, and I just love her. The next book that I highly recommend is the Wine Bible.
Yeah.
And I love this book because even before I started school in Italy, somebody gifted me this book, I want to say for my retirement, and they also gifted me the World Atlas of Wine. Both have been invaluable, not just for the wine student, but Karen McNeil can write a wine chapter that will make you start drooling. Like literally, when I read the chapter on Banyuls, my mouth just started watering, and I was still in wine school in Italy, and I had no idea that a couple months later I'd be standing there in Banyuls when I went to French wine school. But it was my only interest came from reading that chapter in her book. And it was such a beloved book that one of my wine teachers actually adopted it for our Wines of the World class. That was our textbook in 2010.
Wow.
So highly recommend the new edition. Wait for the new Wine Bible to come out. She's updating it because the current Wine Bible is about 15 years old. So Karen McNeil is writing the new one. Guys, the writing, the recommendations, producer, phone numbers, go visit. I mean, it's just a super, super resource. If there's any one book you've got to have in your resource library, it's got to be the Wine Bible.
Yeah.
What say you, Steph?
Yeah. No, I've had that one for a long time too, and my husband and I have gone back to it over and over again and highlighted and underlined and all sorts of, yes, that is a great book. I totally think everybody should have that. It's so hard to pick which ones are the best books. It's just and yet,
well, you can't.
You can't.
You can't pick a best book because, again, it depends.
Yeah, it does depend.
On what you're using for.
And yet, so you have to have quite a few. And yes, they do get outdated eventually, which is why you probably should go get the latest edition.
Yes.
But you can still find some bargain books at used bookstores. Get something for 50 cents or something. You can still learn from it.
And, once people find out you're into wine, they gift you with books. Like, I was gifted a second Wine Bible, which I passed on to a friend. And the reason for that was I actually had Angelo Gaia sign my Wine Bible. And,
nice.
I will never part with it because when I told him, I asked him to sign my Wine Bible, he started laughing. He goes, "There's such thing as a Wine Bible?" And I was like, yeah, and I came back and I wrote a blog post about it. It's called The Bible in the Garden of Gaia. And, I keep wanting to say this is the reason I'm going to hell. But at the same time, and I made a lot of comparisons and alliterations, to the Garden of Eden, which was the Garden of Gaia. But I love that book. I'll never part with it. It's dog-eared. Like you said, it's highlighted, it's written in, it's tabbed. The same with Vino Italiano by Bastianich and Lynch. This book, I don't know, Steph can see it. It is all tabbed, all the hell.
Wow.
It is written in, well, yeah, and when, I finally recommended to my one wine teacher in Tuscany to use this for a Wines of Italy class, and he fought me on it because it was so outdated at the time. And back then, the book was only 5 years old. Now the book's 10 years old. But it was, of course, you can't keep up with the DOCGs and stuff in Italy. I mean, you can see where I've had to update them and write them and what have you, and the laws. But it ended up being our textbook, which are the tabs you see. These are the different sections we studied in the class. But if you love Italian wine, Vino Italiano by David Bastianich and David Lynch, and there's even a foreword by Mario Batali. It's got recipes in it. I mean, that alone, it's recipes so you can make a food that kind of goes with, like, spaghetti alla chitarra, from the land of my people in Abruzzo. There's a recipe in here for it. So I think the book is absolutely priceless and dog-eared. And,
well, I never had that book, Val, and I saw that you put that in your show notes, and I thought, this is so crazy that I've always wanted that book. You mentioned it in your show notes, and then get this. When we were in New Orleans, Kathy Love said, "I have something for you." And I went to her room, and she gave me this book, and she said, "I picked up an extra copy of this book at the used bookstore, and I wanted to give it to you." And I was like, what? How sweet and so thoughtful. And then when your show notes said recipes, I immediately started looking for the recipes, and what I found on page 70 is the Venetian cocktail party with recipes from Mario Batali. And now I think I'm going to wear my mask from New Orleans and have a little Venetian party at my house.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's such a great resource, and Kathy she's one of the most sweet, generous people you will ever meet. And if you're on any wine Facebook page, chances are Kathy is on there.
Yeah, right.
Say hi to her. She is really, really sweet. But here are my notes on Sutro Alto Adige, by the way,
nice.
In the middle of this book, right?
That's awesome.
So, yeah, great book. But I will shut up here and let Steph chat a little bit about her book. But before I go, I will mention that my best read, if you just want a nice read in front of the fire, Wine and War.
With your smoking jacket.
With your smoking jacket, with a glass of Burgundy, a glass of champagne. Don and Petey Clodstrup, and they just wrote champagne as well. If you're a history buff, this is what got me into history, right here. Yeah. To understand the impact of wine culture on World War II and what was happening in France with the Germans. And they would mess with the Germans. I mean, the French resist, they would really mess with them pretty bad. So it's kind of funny, too. There's a lot of humor in this book. Historical, like, oh my God, who knew? All up in this book. So
Yeah.
best read, Wine and War. This is probably my favorite wine book, like, ever.
Yeah.
So,
That's totally on my top 5 too, but I'm really sad. Boo-hoo, I cannot find my copy. I must have loaned it or something. I can't find my Wine and War. I might have to buy one for myself again. Anyhow, but I will go over my top 5, but I wanted to say it is so funny that Val and I met last year. I think some of our listeners know that Val and I are, kindred spirits, fast friends. And we met last year, and listening to each other's stories and our wine journey that are so similar, I think it's crazy, but I don't know how I missed the boat to Italy. How did you end up in Italy and I didn't go with you? Darn it.
I think we should fix that in the future. I think if we can get enough listeners interested, I would say a Wine 25 tour of Italy with Val and Steph.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I would say let's do it. Let's shoot for maybe, 2017 or something. But yeah, let us know if you're interested. I would be totally down with going to Italy and making up for lost time with Steph and anyone who wants to go on that.
Yes. I totally want to do it. And you guys let us know if that's what you want too. And so let's see here. Back to the books. Let's see here. Books. Oh, I wanted to tell our listeners. That there was something really weird. I started Googling wine books, and one of the things that came up was it was Amazon. Bookshelves, wine bookshelves. And I'm like, what? Okay, let's go there. Let's go see what that is. What's a wine bookshelf? And this is the factoid, I think. I wanted to tell somebody about wine bookshelves.
I think that was on your wino radar.
Oh, that's on my wino radar. That's right.
Oh, you spoiled the surprise.
I know you spoiled the surprise, but you guys, you've got to check this out. There's actually a video on making your own wine bookshelf, seriously, with bottles of wine. So yeah, Val, you're gonna have to click on it and check it out. And we can post that so that everybody can, get their new books and put it on their do-it-yourself bookshelf. But so, okay, back to the books. Top 5. Because we're going to run out of time here talking about all of our fun book stuff. Top 5. Number 1, Why You Like the Wines You Like by Tim Hannay. This is one of my favorite books. I read this book, I think it was last year for the first time. And it just totally changed my thinking. Val's got doing a little Vanna thing on Skype, but you guys can't see it, but
I even made him autograph it.
See? That's so great. I forgot to bring mine to New Orleans and have him sign it.
I didn't. He signed it when I used to work for that winery. He came out and was selling them. I made him sign it right there before. I said, hey, am I too old to ever be a master of wine? And he said no. I mean, he was the first master of wine I ever met. So, yeah.
I think that's great. And he's so nice. I just met him for the first time in person because I had talked to him on the phone a couple of times last year. Why You Like the Wines You Like. It makes anybody who feels bad about liking only certain kinds of wine, like a sweet style, or having a really strong preference for only white wines. And Tim explains it so that everybody feels empowered and helps you understand why it is that you like what you like. And so I would recommend it to everybody. That's a really great book. Number 2 is Women of the Vine by Deborah Brenner. This is a collection of stories that are all different women from different backgrounds that have pursued careers in the wine industry. And they're kind of vignette style of stories. Really like that one, and would be a great gift. Any of these books, again, are great holiday gifts and ideas, not just for yourself, but for your friends and family. Another one is The World Atlas of Wine by Jancis Robinson and Hugh Johnson. That also is visually a great book, right? Because then you can dial it in. Where are we talking about? And you look at it on the map and you can see where it is in reference to the rivers and the mountains. And I'm sure you've used that countless times, Val.
Yes, I have, and the new edition is either just getting ready to or has come out.
I didn't know that.
I want to say the old one's green. Don't get that one. I want to say the new one is red. She was just talking about it in that Society of Wine Educators post on Facebook too, in that Janice Robinson article. But yeah, get the new one, the newest edition. Make sure it's 2015 edition.
Yeah. And then I'm going to reiterate Wine and War, the French, the Nazis, and the battle for France's greatest treasure. Again, this is a super great book. You know what? Recommended for non-wine lovers who really like history. Might even get them into drinking wine. So I would recommend that book for all people, especially the history buffs. And then the last person is a writer that I really enjoy. He's very entertaining, Jay McInerney. He's got a few different books, and he used to write for the Wall Street Journal. His book that I like the best is called A Hedonist in the Cellar, Adventures in Wine. And I was turned on to Armagnac after reading one of his little stories in The Hedonist in the Cellar. And, now you're going to be studying Armagnac, Val, and I'll have to look over that again. And I'm gonna drink some Armagnac for you, Val.
Thank you. It's funny because McInerney's books, I actually bought both of those in Italy. There's a bookstore in Italy that does sell some books in English, as well as Italian. And I read the story about Angelo Gaia. Every time we went somewhere on a field trip, I would read about that region from McInerney's book just to try to get a background story from a very simply written perspective. And I read all about his piece on Angelo Gaia. He walks fast, talks fast, and drives like some speed racer on crystal meth. I can't remember.
I think so.
And it was so funny, and I mentioned that in that post on the Bible in the Garden of Gaia, because everything he said about Angelo Gaia was true. I mean, the guy is just moving. And Jay McInerney tells some really good stories. Hedonist in the Cellar, and what's the other one? It's Bacchus and Me. Bacchus and Me. Yeah. Dude is funny.
He is funny.
That's a funny guy.
He just has...
Yeah. He catches some flack from other wine writers, but I think he's funny. So.
Yeah, I think he's funny too. And I'm glad, that he's not like all the other wine writers. So that's good.
The blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Kind of like what's going on our podcast right now.
Yes, that is what's like. Actually, and what I was going to say is that I do look forward to rereading some of these books because it's been a long time and I'm pretty excited about going back and rereading a few. So kind of like rewatching one of your movies that you forgot. You liked it, but you kind of forgot what it was about. So that's why we're going to talk about movies next week.
Yes, wine porn next week. Well, let's get to our factoid first, Steph.
Okay, factoid. I've been skipping around. So, what's the factoid? Okay. How about this, listeners? World's best-selling wine book ever. What do you think that is? Well, I didn't know. So, it is Hugh Johnson's Pocket Wine Book. Yeah. Hugh Johnson has sold over 11 million copies of this book since 1977, and it's in its 38th edition.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you own one of those?
I do not. I don't, I guess anything that has a pocket wine book to me implies vintages and things and just gets old, so anything that's going to get old.
Yeah.
Other than I would love a copy of the Platter's Guide because I don't know how that doesn't age very fast. The South African Wine Guide. Yeah. But I don't own any of those pocket books.
Yeah. I don't either. I do own one of Hugh's books called How to Enjoy Your Wine, and I've used it countless times. I really like it, and it's, it's a little bit bigger than the size of a pocketbook, but it's a great tool, and I would recommend that to anybody. And it doesn't get outdated, like a vintage type of a book would. So that's a good one.
Well, I got another factoid for you since you're on that.
Yeah.
You know what the bestseller wine book on Amazon is this week?
Wine Folly.
Wine Folly, not even released.
I know, isn't that amazing?
The pre-orders. And, right now it's like $13.
Unbelievable.
It's not even going to be released until the 22nd of September, and it's already the #1 best-selling wine book on Amazon, right ahead of The Drunken Botanist, which is the one we just got. And then, it's crazy. It's not even out yet for like another 2 weeks. And the reason for that is those graphics and those diagrams and the way she explains wine for the millennials. I mean, she makes it cool.
Yeah, she is cool.
She's super cute too. I watched her on the We Like Drinking podcast last week,
yeah.
and I was just like, oh my God, where was she? I was her age when I started learning about wine. Yeah. And there was nobody like around for me to really kind of latch onto. Well, back then we still had dial-up internet too, so there was that, but I wasn't that cool for sure. I wasn't that cute. And oh my gosh, she is just so much fun. And ever since she started her site, I've been kind of, watching what she does. But that is the #1 book right now. If you guys pre-order it, I think it's, $13 on Amazon. So speaking of wine books, you cannot lose with that book.
Val, I think I'm going to have to correct you here. I bet you really were that cute and adorable. So
no.
I think you're wrong about that.
I beg to differ. Oh my gosh, my friend Anne Marie would tell you stories about the way I dressed back then. I was totally not cool. Yeah, she said I wore pilgrim shoes with my skirts. I didn't wear open-toed shoes back then. I wore long broomstick skirts. I look like a pilgrim, she said. And I had no clue about fashion. My girlfriends had to take me shopping and teach me not to buy mommy jeans and stuff. And so it's
I don't believe it.
But no, she's super cool. Wine Folly book.
Yeah.
On sale now.
Yeah, pre-order. Go get it and let us know what you think. We're going to get ours too. Okay, what else we got here, Val? What else is on our radar besides the bookshelf?
Well, the drinks business has the top 10 stilliest stories of the month of September out there. And I'm just going to give you a few highlights. The first one that I found very interesting, Pot Liquor Kitchen in Vermont. They have beer jelly. That's right. You can spread booze on your toast for breakfast.
Oh, and you can put bitters in your smoothie too.
Well, you know why? Why not? It's in the grocery store, So I thought that was interesting. You can't wait till, whatever time you think is appropriate to drink, you can put beer jelly on your toast. So I think that's fun. The second thing I pulled out of there was there was an EasyJet Airbus on its way from London to Turkey when a flight attendant who was opening a bottle of bubbly accidentally fired the cork into the cabin ceiling panels. And what happened was it caused oxygen masks to drop. So the flight had to divert to Milan, and the passengers had a 7-hour delay while they were fixing the aircraft.
Oh my God, the person who ordered that bottle of bubbly, or do you think she was probably just opening a new bottle? Yeah.
Probably for first class or something.
Oh gosh.
It better have been champagne after all that. That's all I got to say. Number 3, speaking of Valerie going to hell, there was a church organist who reported seeing the face of Jesus in his cocktail cabinet. You insert your jokes here, but the Holy Spirit's joke has already been made. And yes, Val's going to hell, and she's taking her wine Bible with her.
Oh my God, so somebody else sees Jesus in their cocktail cabinet? Wasn't
apparently so. It's like, what? So we'll just stop there now before we get to the stag semen in the beer, New Zealand looking at you, and eating food off of naked women in Australia. So those stories you can find in the drinks business today. I also tweeted them out. If you're following me on Twitter, you can see them there, or we can post them later at your request.
I think my face is hurting now from smiling.
It's like stupid wine noise. There was one other one where a guy got drunk in Japan and he kicked a robot. It wasn't in that collection, but he kicked him right in the soft bank. So, ouch.
Oh my God.
So it's like, you didn't like the way the robot was looking at him. He was drunk and he kicks the robot.
That's ridiculous.
I guess he had to pay for it.
That's ridiculous.
I know.
Okay,
Alcohol.
I think it's getting close to that time. We better do our shout outs now.
Let's do it. Let's do
it. All right, shout out my friend Stacy Slinker. She is a writer and wine educator, and she just wrote The Idiot's Guide to Wine. She lives here in the FOCO, and I want to say, Stacy, you are a rock star. She is the wine expert for about.com, so you can follow her there and read all of her latest and greatest wine advice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Let's see. My shout out is very quick. They just had a record number of Masters of Wine candidates pass the exam. And a record number of new Masters of Wine. That brings the total in the world to 340.
Yeah, that's a lot.
You know, it's a lot. You know, it's a lot of work to become a Master of Wine. But they said also the quality of the papers is the highest they've ever been. One of the papers in particular was very interesting because it had to do with books. And it was from...
How timely.
I know, right? Because we were talking about books today, and I think this interested me. This one is how trends in the publication of consumer wine books have changed since 1914, and how does this inform their present prospects? This is from Richard Hemming. So if you've read him, he does write for Decanter, Drinks Business, Harper's Wine and Spirit, etc., and he writes for Jancis Robinson too. Since 2008. So he wrote that research paper. I would love to read that,
I would
actually.
too.
I've actually read some of his writing. So it was really cool to see some names in here that you recognize.
Nice.
In the Masters of Wine too. So yes, there are now 340 of them in the world.
Well, cheers to those people. Man.
Cheers to them. That is a lot of work. And I just think it's an awesome accomplishment.
It sure is.
Good on you guys, you know, raising my glass now. This morning I raised my coffee cup, so raising my glass now, which brings us to next week.
Yep, popcorn and movies, everybody. And we have a special guest.
We do. I just confirmed our special guest. So I think we'll just wait and let you figure out who it is and let you listen next week. See, I got him right here. Yep, he has confirmed. So we have our guest for next week, and I think you're going to find it very interesting if you've been listening to us since the summer, and we cannot wait to chat with you guys and him next week right here on Wine25. So that is going to be it. As always, our time has gone way too quickly. We'd love to hear from you. You can find Steph on Twitter. She's at @Albarello Soap. And on the Albarello Soap Facebook page. And then I'm on Twitter as Wine Gal Unboxed, and also on the Vino with Val Facebook page, and on Instagram as Vino with Val.
And you can also find us on the Wine25 Facebook page, Twitter, and wine25.com. Be sure to email us any comments or anything you'd like to hear about or you want us to cover at wine25@gmail.com. And until next week, cheers!
Cheers!
Thank you for listening to the Wine to 5 podcast. Be sure to check us out at Facebook/WineTWO5 and tune in next week for more fun and useful sip tips.